Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today we are talking about the latest studio album from Linkin Park entitled From Zero. But first, let's talk about the ship of Theseus.
Oh, come on, Mr. Meltdown! It's bad enough we're talking about this fake soy boy pussy poser new metal garbage, but now you're giving us a goddamn history lesson? I dropped out of school for a reason. I don't want to hear this shit.
Okay, first off, I do not understand at all why you're here. You clearly have no interest in actually talking about this band or this album. You clearly only want to bitch and bicker and moan about posers and true metal. Like, nobody cares. Shut up. Go outside. Second, the video just started. Let me cook. Show some patience. God damn. The ship of Theseus isn't really a ship. I mean, it is, but it's also a paradox and a thought experiment of sorts. In its original formulation, the ship of Theseus paradox concerns a debate over whether or not a ship that had all of its components replaced one by one would remain the same ship. The account of the problem has been preserved by Plutarch in his Life of Theseus, saying, and I quote, "The ship wherein Theseus and the youth of Athens returned from Crete had 30 oars, and was preserved by the Athenians down even to the time of Demetrius Pleiarus. For they took away the old planks as they decayed, putting in new and strong timber in their places, insomuch that this ship became a standing example among the philosophers for the logical question of things that grow, one side holding that the ship remained the same, and the other contending that it was not the same." Over a millennium later, the philosopher Thomas Hobbes extended the thought experiment by supposing that a ship custodian gathered up all the decayed parts of the ship as they were disposed of and replaced by the Athenians, and used those decayed planks to build a second ship. Hobbes then posed the question of which of the two resulting ships, the custodians or the Athenians, was the same ship as the original ship.
Oh, look at me. I'm the Metal Meltdown. I'm gay and woke and whatever. I know things. I went to school or some fucking crap. Get to the goddamn point.
Once again, I do not understand why you're here, and also, shut up and let me cook. But point taken, maybe I need to simplify this. Okay, so... Oh, remember Star Wars? Yeah, Star Wars! An epic sci-fi action fantasy series in which good fights evil with laser swords and spaceships and whatever the flying fuck spice is. Inarguably the most important character in the Star Wars series is Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader. Two different characters, but also one and the same. Anakin Skywalker is a young Jedi, reckless, stubborn, impulsive, but overall, he means well. He wants to be a Jedi Master. He wants to bring justice and peace and order to the galaxy. Darth Vader, on the other hand, is a Sith Lord, oppressive, unrelenting, fascistic, sitting at the right hand of Emperor Palpatine, partially responsible for the fall of the Jedi and the destruction of the Galactic Republic, and also possibly the genocide of the Tusken Raiders. In Attack of the Clones, we kind of gloss over that. We kind of gloss over that. Okay, technically, that's Anakin, but in that moment, he's Darth Vader. In the same way that when Darth Vader shows humanity and patience and love for Luke and Leia Skywalker, that's Anakin in that moment, you know? But when he finally stands up to Emperor Palpatine and sacrifices his life to save his son and also the galaxy, essentially, he's Anakin Skywalker. They are one and the same, but they are different. Much like the actual ship of Theseus, Anakin's physical body is scarred and bruised and parts have been replaced and repaired, and much like the actual ship of Theseus, Darth Vader is not the thing that he used to be, but he fundamentally is still. And I bring all of this up not out of some desire to just nerd out about Greek philosophy and mythology and sci-fi fantasy gobbledygook, but rather to illustrate a point. The ship of Theseus may not be right now what it was many a year ago in the original stories. Even if every part is removed, it is still a ship of Theseus. It shares that name, it shares that story, it shares that legacy. And Anakin and Darth Vader are two sides of the same coin, two personalities from two different people existing within the same body, sharing the same stories, sharing the same relevancy in their world as they have in ours. And Linkin Park right now might not be the same Linkin Park that you grew up with. There is no Chester Bennington, there is no Rob Borden, and the people that are in the band, maybe there's been some stories about who they are and what they were doing behind the scenes that make you uncomfortable, that make you feel uneasy about Linkin Park continuing in this day and age. But they are still Linkin Park, and there are a lot of people that are still happy to call them Linkin Park. And I feel like everyone is valid in how they feel. I get it, and I understand, and it's fine, and I hope that this makes sense. Does it make sense? Are you still paying attention?
I'm not gonna lie to you, Mr. Meltdown. The answer to both of those questions? Probably no. Probably no.
Yeah, that sounds about right, unfortunately. Yeah. Alright, well, I did my best. Listen up, folks. I don't care about whatever drama there is behind the scenes. I don't care about this gossip and, frankly, manufactured controversy surrounding the return of Linkin Park. I mean, like, sure, I can understand why people are upset. I can understand why people are a little confused as to why Linkin Park would continue without Chester Bennington. I can understand everyone feels a little weird about Emily because of some accusations and, again, in my opinion, some gossip and drama and some manufactured controversy. Kind of feels like a lot of you guys are just mad because she's a girl and girls don't belong in metal. I saw plenty of comments on social media that can back that up. I know for a fact y'all are just mad because she got titties. That's some of y'all are mad for that reason. I don't know why. I think it's silly in 2024, but some of y'all are silly as fuck. So, whatever. Listen, I didn't grow up with Linkin Park the same way a lot of y'all did. You're entitled to feel however the way you feel. But I want you to know that at the end of the day, this Linkin Park album, no matter how you feel about it, no matter how many oars and planks and ropes and sails have been rebuilt and replaced and refurbished, this is still very much Linkin Park, at least in my opinion. From Zero is a Linkin Park album through and through. How you feel about it will depend ultimately on how you feel already about Linkin Park. For a lot of people, this means this album is going to be an emotional roller coaster. You grew up with Linkin Park. This is important to you. For a lot of other people, this might just be garbage because you're a true metalhead who listens to true metal, or maybe you're really actually mad with stuff that Linkin Park is doing, and with, again, this drama, this controversy, all this gossip. Sure, fine, whatever. As far as I'm concerned, somebody who's just kind of in the middle, never had really strong opinions on Linkin Park one way or another, I think that From Zero is totally, perfectly, absolutely fine. Ha! It's strong tequila. Never understood that lime thing until now. That's actually nice. I had the opportunity to listen to this album at a kind of listening event here in Toronto. There's been a bunch happening in record stores all over North America over the course of the past few days. And I took notes, and I watched how others responded, and I saw a pretty mixed range of reactions, but for the most part, leaning towards positive. A few tears were shed, a few heads were bobbing, people were singing along to the songs that had already been released as singles. Musically and aesthetically, this thing fits pretty comfortably within the realms of what I guess we can call classic era Linkin Park, like Hybrid Theory, Meteora, and Minutes to Midnight. The band has reintroduced some distorted guitars and screaming vocals and some heavier, chunkier, bouncier grooves, but overall it does have a very glossy, streamlined, kind of like mainstream radio rock metal kind of sound and finish to it. The songs are generally pretty well put together, if a tad formulaic and one-dimensional. You're not really seeing any major twists and turns and curveballs, which I'm a little disappointed by, because one cool thing about the 2010s Linkin Park output is that they did genuinely get kind of unpredictable. Like, 1,000 Suns is like a weird concept album about, like, nuclear war, and it quotes, like, Oppenheimer and shit, and then there's, like, the Hunting Party, which has kind of like a post-hardcore alt-metal vibe to it. And, you know, One More Light, not a great record in my opinion, but props for fucking really trying to go for this, like, mid-2010s millennial pop kind of thing. They did their homework, they studied the scene, they studied the sound, and they executed it fairly well. It's not good, but they executed it well. And who knows, maybe if this latest incarnation of Linkin Park actually sticks around, maybe they will feel more comfortable expanding and exploring more horizons and sounds and flavors on a future album. You know, going back to Star Wars, listening to this album kind of reminds me of, like, watching what was it, The Force Awakens for the first time in theaters, where it's like, we haven't been Linkin Park for so long, we haven't been, like, the Linkin Park that people recognize as Linkin Park for such a long time, so we just need to do that classic sound, because we know that that's going to get butts in seats, and, you know, we'll go from there. The band manages a pretty decent balance and contrast of big, bright, poppy, anthemic hooks and melodies and choruses, and, like, also more edgy, spiky, energetic, metal-ish bursts. Like, you've got the Emptiness Machine, for instance, which is moody and dour, but, you know, still a big cut, you know, with big screaming vocals and a nice punchy chorus, nice use of different, like, vocal tactics and harmonies and such. Over Each Other is an angsty and basic, but not ineffective kind of pop metal banger of sorts. Like, this will definitely resonate with people, I feel. And I mean, Heavy as the Crown is pure Hybrid Theory Meteora Linkin Park shit. Right down to Mike Shinoda's rapping vocals and lyricism, which hasn't improved. I recently said this in a reviewing every Linkin Park album video, but I'll happily say it again. I've never been a huge fan of the way that rap vocals and kind of hip-hop flows have been integrated into Linkin Park, because I feel like 9 times out of 10, what Mike Shinoda is just doing is like, yeah, you made me feel bad, and I feel down, but I'll get back again, because then I won't feel down. I'll feel good. One thing, I don't know why. You can never get inside my mind. There's just, like, nothing to it. He's not saying anything interesting. He's not doing anything interesting. I'm not expecting him to go absolutely fucking ham on me. I'm not expecting some really provocative shit here. I don't need this to be Kendrick Lamar with fucking nu metal riffs, but Jesus Christ, can we get a little something? It's been 20 years, you need to step it up a little bit, Mike. Please. Still a decent cut overall, I guess. I do also like Igwe and Two-Faced, which, you know, also kind of re-tap into that, like, old school kind of nu metal rage and groove. Two-Faced even comes with some, like, classic turntable scratches and shit. Not a huge fan, unfortunately, of stuff like Stained and Overflow. This is where Linkin Park's love of mid-2010s millennial pop, unfortunately, kind of crawls ever so slightly back into the forefront of the sound, just enough to fuck things up. I mean, I'm kind of reminded of some, like, weak-ass material from, like, 21 Pilots and Imagine Dragons in these moments. For me, this is a pretty solid, middle-of-the-road 3 out of 5. I don't really have any strong feelings for this record one way or the other. I mostly enjoyed it while I was listening to it. I don't think I would go out of my way to listen to it again, but I wouldn't object if I were at, like, a party and it was, like, playing in the background or something like that, you know what I mean? Like I said before, however you currently feel about Linkin Park is probably going to determine how you feel about this record. That is something that you should know, that you need to know before you go into it. But in my opinion, the ship of Theseus is still the ship of Theseus. Anakin Skywalker is still Anakin Skywalker, despite being Darth Vader, and Darth Vader is still Darth Vader despite being Anakin Skywalker, and Linkin Park is still Linkin Park, and they made a Linkin Park record, and you can make of that whatever you wish. I got nothing else to say, I guess, so I'm gonna drink another little drinky poo. Subscribe, videos, Kaboom Jams, from Zero. It's decent, it's Linkin Park, whatever. Ah! That was way worse the third time!